All right, welcome back to day 14 of the 40-day journey. We are starting something different today. I made a little video of me journaling for 10 minutes that you can watch on Spotify or YouTube. Maybe that's where you're seeing this right now. So it could feel like we are journaling together. Why did I do that, you wonder? Maybe you weren't even wondering that, but I'm going to tell you. I noticed over the past week, I was listening to the episodes of Good Day with Ray podcast along with you. But when I looked in my journal this morning, I knew what I was going to find. I hadn't done the journal prompts for about 7 days. So I kind of thought maybe you were in the same boat. And I also realized I've been giving you a lot of information over the past couple weeks, but the core of this journey isn't just about information. It's a journaling journey. And the core of what we are doing is spending time with our soul, sorting through all of our beliefs, confusion, pulling out what no longer serves, and finding what we truly want, deciding on the direction we really want to go. Seeing all the beliefs, things, people, places that we are holding on to, looking at what is filling up our lives, crowding our soul and our purpose. So, for the rest of this journey, maybe there'll be a few episodes thrown in where I give you some information, but for the rest of this journey, we are going to be scribbling down what's interfering with the life we want so we can scratch those things out with grace and start to write down what we do want, what we are ready for, and what's really important for us to focus on. Journaling has been my biggest mirror and tool in supporting me to move closer and closer to my soul's purpose and the life I feel happy in. So, for today's journal prompt, I used my chakra oracle deck that I've been using for 7 or 8 years to find our question. And based on the cards that fell out, I felt inspired to ask you and myself this question. But before we get into it, do you have your pen and paper? Are you driving right now or doing laundry while you're listening to this audio and can't journal? That is okay. Pause it and come back or listen all the way through and go to the video on Spotify or YouTube later to journal with me for 10 minutes. Okay, here's the question. What is something in your home you need to let go of? Don't think about it too hard. I actually want you to say the first thing, not say because we're writing. I want you to write down the first thing that comes to your mind. Because when I answered this question this morning, it ended up being something I pass in my home every day. And honestly, it takes up a good bit of space in my house. It like owns a whole corner of my very small apartment. And when I was journaling, I realized I've only used this item maybe 5 times in the past 2 years. Not in the past year, not in the past month, like 5 times in 2 years. So after you answer what you need to let go of, ask yourself this: why haven't you already? Are you worried about the 1 or 2 times in a year you might need it? Did someone give it to you so you feel bad tossing it out or donating it? So, the item that I was talking about earlier that's taking up a corner of my house, I noticed myself wanting to ask the person who gave it to me like 4-ish years ago, maybe longer than that, if they wanted the item back. But I haven't even really talked to this person in about a year and a half, so I don't really feel comfortable asking them if they want this item back. And honestly, if I'm truly, truly honest, I know they already have this item for themselves and it's better than the one that I have. It's why they gave it to me. So while you're listening to me, I hope you kind of kept writing and listing why you personally haven't given away this item. Are you worried that over the next year or two, you might need it once or twice? Do you feel bad giving it away because someone gave it to you? Or is it attached to something else you want to do? For example, maybe it's like a gardening book that you've had for 2 years because you bought this book 2 years ago when you really wanted a garden, but you haven't started gardening yet and you want to someday. And you believe that if you give away the gardening book, then one day you will not garden. But do you actually need the gardening book? Like, seriously, if you want to start your garden and you give away that book, and by the time you get around to starting the garden, couldn't you buy another book or just read a few blog articles? There's so much free information on the internet. Like, do you need a book to know how to do this when the day comes that you are ready and you have time for it? Big reason why you probably haven't used that book is because you don't have time for the garden yet. And we're just talking about gardens, but there could be something else, another book you have, or another resource you have, or another tool you have that is tied to a dream that you have. So I want to give you like a few more examples of things that I have given away over the years and had trouble letting go of. One was a juicer because I was really into juicing for like a month back in college. And shortly after I got this juicer, I realized very quickly juicers are messy. The cleanup takes a really long time. And because of these reasons, I stopped juicing after like a month. But do you know how long it took me to give that thing away? I don't even know if I gave it away. I might have just like thrown it out after a while because that's how messy it was. It seemed like I still couldn't get the food out of it, no matter how hard I scrubbed it. Moving on. But it took me 4 or 5 years to get that thing out of my house. Whether I trashed it or donated it, really can't remember, but it took me that long. And probably for the first year, it collected dust on my counter until I realized, wow, I haven't used that juicer in about a year. Maybe I'll put it in the cabinet. And so it's just been taking up space in my cabinet for those years. And so finally chunked it after 4 or 5 years, and it felt so good. And I also think that giving it away was also me letting go of this dream that I would be the girl that was a juicer. And something else, like something more current in my life that's been gone from my house for years, but something that came to mind for me. Right now, I have face masks in a bathroom drawer that are taking up space in there, and I haven't used them. I've had them for a while. Part of me is kind of flirting with the idea of regifting them for Christmas this year to my sisters, but I will say I'm a little nervous to do that because I was so nervous to do that that I turned them over just to look to see if they had an expiration date on them before I gave them to my sisters. And then something clicked in my head that if I've got to turn something around to make sure it's not expired to give it to someone else because I haven't used it in that long, there's two really important things there. One, I probably shouldn't give it away if I'm nervous that it might burn their skin. And just to let you know, there was no expiration date on the mask, but that's beside, I'm not going to give them away. I'm going to throw them out. So the first reason, if you're worried something is expired before you give it to someone, maybe don't give it to them. And then the second thing is if I'm even worried that it's expired at this point, I shouldn't use it either. And I should throw it out. So there's that. And before we go, I just want to leave you with this. What I've noticed about stuff I'm still holding on to in my house, it's not just because I'm holding on to the item. I'm holding on to a dream. Like I said earlier, I want to be the juicing girl. I want to be the girl who plays guitar. I want to be the girl that uses face masks every week and uses fancy products because that's what a lot of my friends and sisters are doing. I want to be the girl who has all her spices uniformed and meticulously labeled. So I have a bunch of little jars in my closet that have no spices in them. There are no labels on them. They are just taking up space in my closet because I'm not that girl. I don't empty out all of my items when I bring them home from the store and put flour in this container that's labeled flour. I keep the flour in the flour bag. I keep the crushed red pepper in the crushed red pepper bottle that it came in. But once upon a time, about a year and a half ago, I wanted to be that girl that labeled things in that way. And today, when I get rid of those jars as well, or put different things in them, I will come to terms with the fact. And I will also end a dream of being that girl. And I think that's what's so important about letting go of these items, because it's also the dream that clutters our soul. And maybe you're not ready to let go of that dream. Believe me, I understand that feeling. Also, I want to say that you can let things go, you can give them away. And if one day that dream comes up again for you, you can go back and buy the gardening book. You can get a new guitar. You can get more face masks, buy a fancy product, whatever you want to do. Also, what I will say is if you haven't become that person just by having these items, maybe it's time to let go of that dream. Like, let your soul breathe and be like, you know what? I'm not that girl yet, or I'm not that guy yet. And that's okay. I can be that guy one day. I can be that woman one day, but I'm not today. And something feels so freeing about that too. When you just say, wow, not that person, at least not yet. And I actually don't have the time or space in my schedule to become that person yet. I can't be a gardener right now. I have all these other things on my plate. So it's not always the item that we let go of. The item is just a representation of this person that we would like to be, maybe, but we're not yet. And maybe we don't really want to be, but that's for us to decide on another day. So let's go back to the question. What did you decide you needed to let go of in your home? Could be one thing, could be 20 things. Make it your own. And also, before we go, I want to ask you what's something you've already said you would give away, but you haven't gotten around to that yet. So, all right, that's all. Thanks so much for journaling with me, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 15.